a whole episode.
Oh, phew. Dodie and Diana have matching daddy issues. How important it was for me to spend 45 minutes learning that.
Hey everybody, we're the Good Doctors of Abbey Research. I'm Dr. Erin.
Dr. Kristen.
And you are exceptionally welcome to our tiny little corner of the internet, where today we are talking about The Crown, Season 5, Episode 3, Moo Moo. Before we get into our capital T, capital F feelings about this episode, we want to remind you that for our wonderful patrons at any tier level, pub, porch, I'm missing one, parlor, I knew there was a P, pub, parlor, porch, you can join us after this for our Monarch moment for this episode, in which we kind of struggled for a few minutes because, can't have a Monarch moment if the Monarch's in it for like 3 minutes. But we're going to talk about kind of the different manifestations of colonial identity that we see with Muhammad and Dodi in like intergenerational perceptions of colonialism and their relationship to the British, and maybe talk a little bit about the Queen's death and how we saw a lot of colonial reactions or former colonial reactions that varied and that upset a lot of white British people. So we'll talk about that in the Monarch moment over on the Patreon. If you aren't a patron, $5 a month gets you pub level entry. Come join us in the pub. You get the Monarch moments and access to the Mayday moments if you watch The Handmaid's Tale and other good stuff. And so the link will be in the downstairs for all the information about our tiers, what they mean, what you get from us, and how you can join us. All right. So episode 2 ended with the Andrew Morton book tour. So I was like, I'm geared up. I'm ready to go. We're going to talk about Diana. That's what this whole season is about, the last years of Diana Spencer's life. And episode 3 opens in Egypt, 1946. And I said, what?
Like, out loud, as soon as the title screen came up, I went, oh, fuck, Peter, I don't want to learn about this much about the Fayettes. Like, that's immediately what came out of my mouth.
So this is a bottle episode, which the show has done very well in the past sometimes. Marginally well in other instances. Notably, Aberfan is one of the best bottle episodes, because it was very much about the crown. It was about the crown. The one, I think, last season where the guy broke into Buckingham Palace, interesting. A little bit about the crown. Not as great of a bottle episode. This one, we're a little split on it. I thought it was a really good episode of television. I am infuriated that it was a part of this season.
And I couldn't get past that it was part of this season, so I can't tell you if I would have enjoyed it as an episode of television. Because I just, like, every minute that ticked by, I was just thinking, like, we are wasting 1991 to 1997 on 1946 Alexandria.
Well, it moved past Alexandria. But, like, yes, the point stands.
On this, like, deep backstory on the father of the boyfriend.
Yeah, it was just... I honestly want to ask Peter Morgan if Andrew Morton wrote this episode. Because it's like... like, who cares this much about Dodi Fayed?
It's not
Who
even
cares?
like I would care this much about Dodi necessarily. Like if
It's
we had
not
tracked,
about.
but
It's
not
about
about
Muhammad.
Dodi. Like if you had told, because all to tell this story would have just been Dodi, a conversation with Dodi and Diana, where Dodi said, "You know, my father has been obsessed with the royal family."
Yeah, yeah. You
like
could
he
have done
even
a
hired
montage.
David's butler.
You could have done a montage. Did I need to see Prince David and
Never.
Wallace Simpson again?
Never.
Never again. Did I need to be reminded that they're Nazis? I haven't forgotten.
I don't think I ever will. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So, for me, it was an interesting character study of Muhammad. And in our Monarch moment, we'll talk a little bit about kind of the colonial mindset or the impact of colonialism on his understanding his identity and his goals and how that shapes his life. But I understand that in order for us to understand who Dodi became, they wanted us to understand his father. The point stands that we made, and we will make probably 15 more times before we're done. Did we need an entire episode on it? The answer from The Good Doctors is absolutely fucking not.
It is dramaturgically unnecessary for the ultimate goals of this series.
Ooh, very much. Yeah, so I mean, we had the weird storyline with David's former valet, Sydney, which, like, was actually a little bit hilarious because Sydney, like, tells Muhammad all these things about David and how wonderful it was, and he, like, buys Frogmore and restores it and gives it to the queen and then doesn't understand why the queen doesn't want it. And I'm like, he abdicated, ruined her life, and was a Nazi. Like, why? She doesn't want your present.
No, I was thinking a lot about in one of my classes on cross-cultural communication, and we, in grad school, we talked about how you have to know which insider you're talking to. Mm-hmm. Like, you have to understand that often the insider who will talk to outsiders is already an outsider.
Mm-hmm.
And that, like, you take everything, your first point of contact with any culture, you take with a grain of salt. Because why are they the first person to talk to an outsider?
Yeah.
And I just kept thinking, like, oh, these are two, like, Muhammad is so obsessed with becoming the colonizer that he is never critical of anything Sydney says. And Chicken, he missed some things. And I understand that Google was not a thing. But newspapers were.
Newspapers were. Yeah.
And I'm sure that in whatever city you were in, eventually you ended up in London so you can buy Harrods, they had microfiches. Mm-hmm. Because if they had microfiche in 1991 when I was taught to use them, they definitely had them in the 80s. And I don't know. It was like there was a little bit of that moment where, like, the queen didn't want to come to the house, and I just thought, like, serves you right for not doing the research. Like, it was like
I know.
I was why okay.
Yeah.
This episode made me tired.
Yeah, for sure. It was just so bizarre that, like, the whole episode even happened. And then we're, 35 minutes in when we realize that all Dodi wants to do is make films, and they produce Chariots of Fire?
And they don't even actually, like, even say, like, if you don't know Chariots of Fire, you don't know that they're running down the beach. Like...
But they showed the Oscar ceremony.
And that's great, but, like, again, it's, like, this weird obtuseness. Like, I don't know. Just tell us what he's doing.
Yeah, because, they were running down the beach, and I was like, wait a second, is this Chariots of Fire? You're telling me he can produce Chariots of Fire? And then I was, like, doubting myself, and then they showed the Oscar ceremony. And I was like, do you think the Queen cares about an Oscar? Like, And it was just, yeah, it's an interesting thing, and I think it'll come up in our monarch moment. But I like this idea of like insider outsider, and like Muhammad thought he could buy himself to be an insider when like the queen, he was never going to be an insider with the queen because of that difference in like ethnicity, religion, status, like the way they made money, like all of those things. He was never going to be an insider with the queen. Which, you know, eventually we get to the end where the only royal family member he connects with is the only other outsider, which is Diana. And I guess you said you looked it up or read that like she really like loved him and they had a very close relationship, Muhammad and Diana. So cool. A whole episode to get to that, to get to the meeting with Dodi and Diana where he like looks back longingly over his shoulders. A whole episode.
Oh, phew. Dodi and Diana have matching daddy issues. How important it was for me to spend 45 minutes learning that.
Oh, and then Sydney dies in the middle of the episode, too.
Oh, and I had to care about Wallace dying.
Oh my god, we got Wallace's death scene and Sydney's death scene.
Neither one of those people, like, I don't know.
Yeah, this is, like, y'all, this is gonna be a short video from us, because, like, what else is there to talk about? I understand, like...
The monarch moment might be longer, because we have a lot more to say about colonialism.
We do have a lot more to say about colonialism. Like, I'm trying to understand why, like, we talk about this all the time. You know, TV shows, time is a finite resource. They only have so many hours to tell stories.
Yeah.
Every season, in the arc of the show, we know, like, when this show is going to end. I think there's only one more season. I think
I think it's a truncated season. I think, like, season 6 is only 6 episodes.
Because they're not, I don't think they're going full into the modern royals, which just seems dumb to me because that's what everyone cares about these days. But whatever. So we only have so much time left to tell this story. And we know we're not getting Diana's death in this season. But yeah, and like, I think I've kind of turned off the part of my brain that thinks about Northern Ireland, because I'll be so mad I can't like verbalize things. But it repeats saying, if we're the only two people on the internet saying it, this was an entire 60 minutes that could have been about the, how do I want to say that? The transformation of a 3 decades long ethno-national conflict from violent to political that happened during this time period. A mere stone's throw from London. And we spent an entire hour analyzing Mohammed Fayed.
And I know we are not Welsh scholars or Scottish scholars or even English scholars.
Sure.
I am positive there was other things that happened. But like during this time period, just for any of you who are curious, one of the major physical violent things that happened in this time period was that the IRA decided it was tired of bombing the island of Ireland, and it branched out.
It started bombing the mainland England. Yeah.
There was a very famous one at Canary Wharf. There was a very famous one. There was a famous one in Birmingham. There were trials of IRA combatants during this time that were front page news. If you were a politically aware adult anywhere in the English-speaking world in the 1990s and somebody said Belfast, like, that was shorthand. Mm-hmm. When I first wanted to move there, my parents thought the war was still happening.
Yeah.
So
Like, this show is obsessed with American presidents. Why not do an episode on Clinton's visit?
the first of many. The extent, by the way, that there is a entire floor of a hotel in Belfast named after the Clintons because that is how often they stayed there.
Yeah. Hillary Clinton is the pro-vice chancellor of our alma mater, Queen's University Belfast. Of all the universities in the world,
She's
former
ours.
First Lady, Secretary of State, former Secretary of State for the United States of America,
Former senator for the state of New York.
former presidential candidate, is the frickin' pro VC for our home university in Belfast.
That
And
is
yet,
how connected.
it's an entire episode.
Was about a man who was not significant to the crown whatsoever. Sorry.
Sorry. Maybe significant to Diana, but then Diana was in the episode for 3 minutes. So, again, we have reached this impasse where it appears you and I care about the crown. And Peter Morgan does not.
No, like I said, I really think he started this whole thing so he could talk about Philip and Diana. Like, those are the characters he is the most fascinated with,
Like,
is Philip and Diana.
why are you
Why? I don't know, because they're spouses of the royals? Maybe. But in terms of the interesting storylines he gives them,
Why are
That's
you
it.
Why are you wasting Imelda Staunton?
I don't know, he wasted Olivia Colman for 2 seasons, so at least he
just-
gave her Aberforth, but
Aberfan, yes.
Aberfan, sorry.
Yeah, y'all. I was trying to like stretch this out to like. I think we're done. I don't have anything more to say about Moo. I not excited. I haven't watched episode 4 yet. I'm not excited to. I'm sure it'll pick up somewhere, maybe, or maybe it'll be in. I don't think he doesn't do 2 bottle episodes in a row, so I'm sure we'll pick up with like whatever nonsense Diana story he wants to tell next.
I mean, could we talk about the fallout of the book? Because, like, you want to talk about a nighttime soap opera, the fallout of the book.
Oh my
is,
god,
like,
that was a massive scandal. We barely touched on it at the end of episode 2.
So I'm
which is
really
why-
hoping that's what episode 4 is. We're going to watch it together this week. We're at our Charleston branch office. So we'll be watching it together this week, and I'm excited. But, okay. Let's close the chapter, the book on episode 3. I hope we don't ever have to talk this much about Muhammad Al-Fayed ever again. He sounds like a lovely yet social climbing man. I don't know what he was like as a dad because he doesn't appear he appears like both ways in this thing.
I think he was more of a businessman than a dad.
Than a dad, that's fine. I'm familiar with that trope. We'll see you for the Monarch moment where we're going to talk about colonialism. How about that? And if we don't see you there, we'll see you back here for what we hope will be a drama tea-filled episode about the fallout of Morton's book. And if it's not, I might throw something.
See you guys then.